Whoop, whoop.
Hello, Chicago.
Woohoo!
Give me just a moment for Tom to confirm that we're live, and then we'll get things started. So if you guys are in the audience and talking, please make your way to a chair, preferably in the center of the room so that the folks in Verbella can see you.
And if you guys want to take a seat, Sarah and Trisha, our guests of honor tonight. Thank you.
Tom, is the stream live? All right, we are live. So hello and welcome. One of the things we always like to do really quick is show of hands. Who has been here before? And I'm going to do this in Verbella in a moment. Can you guys come to seats? If you're not sitting in seats, please move, sit, come on forward. We do want the folks on Verbella to be able to see you in the room, and they can only see the people on camera if they're, well, now they're looking at me, but they do get to see the audience occasionally. All right, we will get started. If I can find the slide deck. There we go. So hello and welcome. Tonight is the next evolution. We are talking about immersive technology in Web3 and blockchain. We're going to get through some opening messages here. So the next evolution, AWE Nite Chicago event series, is produced by VR Chicago. One of the big things we always point out is now and always will be and always has been 100% free to attend. The purpose of this event is to support our audience by providing demonstrations, answering questions during the open Q&A portion of the program, and creating networking opportunities. We help to provide real connections to help people take their next step forward with immersive technology. Tonight we put together an expert panel to discuss Web3 and blockchain. Each of the panelists, and I wanted to make sure that the slides are changing in both locations. They are, great. Each of the panelists will present on their background and then have a one-on-one with one of our hosts before we move into a panel conversation, fielding questions from both the physical space, the virtual space in Verbella, and we have AWE.live who is watching on the live stream. So really quick, I'm Matt Wren. I am the founder of VR Chicago and The Next Evolution, which has been running live since 2017. My passion and expertise spans a lot of emerging technologies. And I'll end it with that and say, if you want to know more or talk to me, feel free to come up and say hi, and we'll be happy to talk after the program. The Next Evolution is also AWE Nite Chicago. There are 34 AWE Nites all over the world. AWE is the world's biggest immersive technology convention. Through the local chapters, there is always something happening, so check it out on awe.live. Their next conference is taking place in Europe next month. You can use the code AWENITESD23 for a 20% discount to AWEEU 2023. Someone wants to fly there, or I will say for those who happen to be watching the live stream or the recording of the live stream in Europe. And if you miss any of their events, you can catch all of their sessions streaming. To learn more about AWE Academy or their online courses provided by AWE Academy, check it out on AWE. I believe it's awexr.com. But beyond that, so Tom and myself, Tom sitting over there by the computers, manning the control booth. We produce The Next Evolution. We're from VR Chicago, and we produce The Next Evolution with the help of the Next Evolution's advisory board. Some of them are also sitting, in places like helping you check into the event and walking around. Where's Ben? There's Ben. Hi, Ben. VR Chicago educates and advocates for immersive technology adoption, consults on ways that leveraging VR and AR can provide impact, and produces events that use VR and AR and streaming technology to expand the reach beyond the physical and geographic limitations. The Next Evolution AWE Nite Chicago event series, produced by VR Chicago, is now and always will be 100% free to attend. So please consider donating to help support this event, because even though it's free to attend, it is not free to produce. It does cost us every month that we're doing this. And with that, we like to thank our sponsors, one of which is sitting right over there. Come on up and talk about 1871.
Hey, and has anyone never been in the space before? Okay, we got one. Welcome to 1871. If you're unfamiliar with who we are, what we do, we are a nonprofit incubator and innovation hub. So we help startups. We do the arm motion. We do the full maturity curve. So from early stage to growth stage to corporate startups, we support them the whole way. We do that through programming, events. We've got some really cool stuff coming up. So check us out, 1871.com. Thanks for being here.
All right, thank you, Lydia. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to hand it over to our other host, Caroline, who is in our virtual environment. So you can see her on the screen over there. And Caroline, can you hear me?
I can, Matt. Hello. Hello, everybody in Chicago. Welcome, and welcome to those here in Virbela. Our virtual panelists and myself are in an environment called Virbela Open Campus. So to introduce technology and community, I'll invite Sarah Seacrest up just to say a few words about Virbela. Sarah.
Thank you, Caroline. Hi, everyone. Welcome. So we are so pleased to be ongoing supporters of this event, which is just one of our favorites, absolutely. And Open Campus is free, open to the public, and we have lots of entrepreneurs and creatives and technologists and educators here, so would welcome you all to visit. So really excited about today's talk with some friends and neighbors, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Sarah. We're so grateful to be in such a unique space. And just about myself, Caroline Dennis, I am a virtual host, as among other things. I'm founder of 2 Degrees, and my consulting practice helps startup founders and organizations with go-to-market strategies, grow market share, and align product fit across a breadth of adjacent strategies. I'm deeply committed to a sustainable and inclusive Web3 future, global health equity, and empowering women to shift the paradigm of less than 2% investment in female founders. So just really quickly about Virbela, remember that you can mute and unmute on the bottom left of the microphone icon down in the corner here, and this is for folks who are in Virbela. You can click on the screen zoom, and that is at the top of your screen to see different views. And the stage view is that little hourglass that views the whole stage. So a showing of hands, who has been to the Next Evolution program before, both in person and in Virbela? And I show some hands here. Awesome. And for those in Virbela, if you haven't done it already, go ahead, and I'm seeing people are clicking that raise hand function, which for those of you in person, it's a really nifty way to be able to communicate here in the platform, and we have a chat function as well. So it's an awesome platform. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Virbela. So I'd also like to go ahead and thank our presenting partner, XR Women. I have been a member of XR Women for nearly 2 years. And XR Women is a pioneering global community dedicated to empowering women in the fast evolving realms of emerging technologies such as XR, AI, and the metaverse. We actually are a community of more than 800 members from around the world, and we have put on over 150 metaverse events that have showcased inspiring women from all different kinds of verticals in the immersive tech industry. So we're so pleased, and I'm so pumped to be a part of XR Women. So back to you, Matt.
Thank you. And we also have a whole bunch of community partners supporting these events, some of which will be on the stage today. So Vanity, 2 Degrees, Independent Game Developers Association, Chicago Chapter, 2112 Chicago, Envision, and VR Motion Learning. We always want to thank them as well. The next thing that we have to bring up, so this is the point where I'm going to stop on this slide for a second. Get your phone out, scan this QR code if you would like to. Don't forget to collect your NFT token. By collecting it, you are eligible for winning a prize that we will be drawing for at the end of the year, likely a VR headset. We can't make any guarantees yet, and we don't want to say which one. But the only way that people are being entered to collect the tickets for the drawing are effectively these NFTs. And so I'll keep it up for a few more seconds. I'll probably show it again towards the end of the event, just in case, you have to load the app and download things. But that's the QR code to collect the NFT for this event. Again, you can only collect it today and I think a little bit into tomorrow for those who are watching the stream. All right, with that, I believe we are going to go into the actual topic. And Caroline, I believe you're going to give us an introduction on it.
I am. So why are we focusing on blockchain and Web3 for XR? But before we dive in, let's clarify what we mean by blockchain and Web3. They get mixed up a lot, and it's understandable because it's thrown around all over the place. So blockchain is a distributed ledger technology that allows for secure, transparent, and tamper-proof transactions. It's the underlying technology behind cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin and Ethereum, and we'll be hearing a lot more about Ethereum tonight. Web3 is a vision for a new version of the internet, and it's decentralized. It's open and it's controlled by users. It's built on top of blockchain and other emerging technologies such as AI and machine learning. So the main difference between blockchain and Web3 is that blockchain is a technology, while Web3 is a vision for a new way of using the internet. It's the underlying technology that can be used to build Web3 applications. But it's more than just blockchain. It's a new way of thinking about the internet and how it can be used. Blockchain can help create a more sustainable future for immersive technologies by enabling users to use their own data and identify in virtual worlds and metaverses. And we'll learn more about why this is important. So I hope that as you hear more from our speakers about the ways they're implying blockchain, that you might uncover innovative ways to integrate blockchain and XR in your own projects. And we'd love to hear from you. Thanks, Matt.
Okay, and with that, I'm going to introduce our first speaker who's going to cover the first portion of the topic, which would be Andrew, who's going to make his way up to the stage right now. All right, so while he's coming up here, Andrew leads multiple enterprises within Chicago and beyond for the Bloom family office. When he's not coordinating with his community to bring transformative change to Chicago, you can find him walking his dog Cleo around town. So just so you're aware, there are cameras there that allow the people on the web stream to see you as well as the people in Verbella. And with that, I will change your slides. If you need a slide progressed, you can see your slides down there and just let me know when you want to change them.
Can you guys hear me okay? Perfect.
Yes, we can.
Okay, we'll get those queued up. Awesome. So yeah, quick background on myself. Again, Andrew Potterella, lead a largely research-focused effort for the last almost over 2 years now into blockchain for a family office in the city. So it's not possible to explain that background, by the way, on what blockchain and Web3 are was pretty good, but I'm going to try to just give some more color to how to think about blockchains. This will not obviously teach you everything you need to know. Before I dive into this, again, I'll also just say, part of the group getting off the initial ETH Chicago, which is happening next week, Friday through Sunday. It's going to be a great event where you have an opportunity to learn a lot more about how all this stuff works. We can go next slide. So again, I'm going to try to keep this pretty simple, but as you're thinking about blockchains, you hear this word decentralization thrown all over the place. And just to very simply kind of delineate the difference between these two worlds, right? Right now, we live in a world where ultimately we trust a lot of single entities with important data points of ours, right? Our money being an obvious example, our social media posts online, or if you're a gamer, the ability to know how you've progressed as a gamer. We trust single entities. When we talk about decentralization in the context of blockchain, very simply what it means is that your information is being stored by everyone all at the same time. That's what Ethereum, that's what Bitcoin unlocks. And so what that means practically, decentralization, is that everyone can have access to this technology while no one's actually in control of it. So you don't have to totally understand the implications of that, but at a very base level, just an explainer on decentralization. We can go next slide. To just kind of follow up on that, so if things are open to everyone but no one controls them, then something really unique and powerful happens, which means you remove the need for a trusted third party. This is a quote by one of the founders of Ethereum, Vitalik Buterin, and what he says is, whereas most technologies, think of AI as I'm talking through this, whereas most technologies tend to automate workers on the periphery doing menial tasks, blockchains actually automate away the center, right? So instead of automating a taxi driver, an AI who can drive a car out of the business, blockchain can actually remove Uber from the equation itself, a much more fundamental part of that operating structure. So we can go to the next slide. So again, I'm trying to give very high level perspectives on how to think about some of the unique aspects of blockchain. I've done that with decentralization, how you can remove a trusted third party. Now I'm just going to give you two very simple examples of how this technology can be applied. And I'm keeping it abstract. Like I'm not using NFTs, I'm not using blockchain, none of this stuff. Just to try to start to explain to you how it can unlock some interesting new benefits. So the first, let's walk through a situation where you're at a restaurant, you eat some food, and you want to give a review of how the meal went. You know, right now we go to Google, we can go to these other websites, and there's always that thought, at least in my mind, where it's like, okay, did this person actually eat there? Is this gamed because the restaurant's paying these people a bunch of money? And so with the blockchain-based system, removing the trusted third party, you can directly link them paying their bill, verifying that they ate at this restaurant, and then giving a review. So this seems very simple, but we would all have a resource that we could go to and know, like, there's no third party trying to make a buck off of this. This is just truly a community tool we have. Similarly, very interesting, when you pay your bill, and this really gets to some of the unique benefits of a digitally native money. When you pay your bill, right now, the restaurant doesn't get those funds until probably a day or two later at best. Using a blockchain-based system, not only can the restaurant have access to those funds before you leave the restaurant, right? But they also could have distributed payment to the waiter, to the chef, to the manager, to the busboy, potentially to the elements of their supply chain. So the speed of coordination there is just something that's not possible on traditional financial rails. And then the last slide, and hopefully going quick enough here, is just to think about, again, a simple Chicago example. If you put Chicago boat rentals on a blockchain, a lot of really interesting things happen, actually. And so this is where we were talking about earlier. I'm not using any blockchain-based words here, okay? But what we're describing is the ability to put a real-world item, a boat, and directly link its ownership in a digital environment, okay? And so when you do that and you're using blockchain, that can actually create a very interesting liquid market for boat rentals, right? People could literally be writing bots where 1 minute they rent a boat for a certain day, and then a weather forecast gets updated, and maybe the bot is then going to try to sell, right, that boat rental at an increase in value. So it can vastly unlock the liquidity of a bunch of different markets. In this case, you could actually have, you know, traders who now have the speculative market. If they're good at guessing when the weather is going to get nice all of a sudden, they can make money off of this. And then the other more tangible benefit for boat owners, and this is just one example, right? You can think about this in your own applications. But for boat owners, when you have this liquid speculative market, you've also created an additional revenue stream for them. So passively, as they're just sitting there managing the rentals for the summer, you could have constant fees coming to them based off people speculating on buying or selling access to rent their boat. So 10,000 foot view, hopefully some additional interesting perspective to think about what's possible with blockchain technology.
Oh, keep that on. You get questions from me now. So,
I'm gonna sit down though.
Yeah, feel free.
Thanks.
Okay, so real quick, you know, just the first one I'm going to start with, because obviously this event is focused on virtual reality, augmented reality, and so, you know, a lot of people here, most of our audience, I would say, at least has familiarity with what virtual reality is, what augmented reality is, and how, you know, they relate to terms like Web3. What I want you to sort of explain is how, you know, coming from the blockchain perspective and Web3 perspective, how does that relate to VR and AR in your mind?
Yeah, it's all about digital property rights. Like at the end of the day, we've created this system where, again, everyone's managing each other's data points. So one thing that's beautiful about that is if we all say, okay, that Vlad owns that CryptoPunks PFP, and there's no debate. We all know he's got digital property rights to that thing. So in the context of VR AR, I think what's powerful, and this is true with tweets, with Instagram posts, like you can own those things. You can truly own those things, which if you don't have a digital wallet set up and you haven't like experienced actually owning something of digital value, it's a very powerful unlock. And so I just see a future where you're gonna have a lot of people not only like experiencing these worlds, but they can truly help build them and potentially create, you know, entire careers off of their ability to operate and own different parts of that world.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw the obvious question out there for the folks who essentially relate crypto to blockchain, which also means Bitcoin. So really fast, how do they relate to each other? Crypto, blockchain, Bitcoin, and how do they differ from each other?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I would say for as much good terminology has been invented, there's probably 3 or 4 as many people trying to be able to be the one to say that they define the new term. Okay, so I understand a lot of this terminology can get a little confusing, but at a base level, blockchain is a type of technology. Bitcoin is a certain implementation of that technology. And I think, how all of those get applied in a more real world setting you're not going to have to figure that out. There's going to be use cases where you don't even realize you're using it, where some of this delineation is going to start to get a lot more obvious.
All right, so you kind of mentioned the hypothetical experience with the boats. What I'm going to ask now is, can you share any examples of how blockchain technology and digital assets have made a real world impact, either within your community or elsewhere?
Yeah. And so I'll also, because this is a perfect setup. So the main bounty prize on East Chicago is most impactful back to the Chicago community. It's for the good of the Chicago community. And so we're also trying to squeak out as many of these as we can at the event. Probably one of the most obvious examples is if you go back to when the war in Ukraine was starting, there was a bunch of political donations that came in via blockchain. I think they were some of the first, I forget what it was, but maybe it was like 21 million. Don't quote me on that. And they were some of the first folks that were able to provide that funding. And so there are 2 key unlocks there. I guess the ability to coordinate globally and facilitate that transfer of value. It just doesn't exist easily within our current system. And then 2, I think more importantly, there were some folks who didn't have a way through traditional rails to support a cause they would believe in because they're scared about potential political retribution in the areas that they live in, or all these other things and what this means is they'd have to give up their identity to then pay someone to support this cause, right? And so it was a very important unlock where it also allowed people to express their desires or beliefs in a way that was outside the bounds of their political world that they had to live within. So that's one of the most impactful I've seen recently.
All right, last question, and we'll try to keep it quick, but as we start to see, I'll say weather changes, what are your thoughts on effectively how cryptocurrencies or blockchain affect the environment? And just your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Probably not the most political correct response, but I'm not compared to, if you look at how much YouTube uses in energy versus even Bitcoin right now, YouTube uses a lot. With the transition to proof of stake, which is what Ethereum runs on, the vast majority of other blockchains run on, it's significantly more energy efficient. And so obviously we need to keep an eye out for the environment. Yes. What I would say is every company that's thinking about integrating this technology is also thinking about that. So the fact that you see a PayPal, a Nike, a Visa, a BlackRock, a Shopify, I can keep going, starting to integrate some of these underlying blockchains, I think it should give you increased confidence that some of those energy issues have been worked out and shouldn't be a long-term reason to not at least experiment with what's possible.
All right, thank you very much. We'll bring you back for the open Q&A from the audience in a minute, or after the rest of the presenters. But right now we're going to go to Caroline, who will introduce Trish.
Excellent. Okay, Trisha, why don't you join me up here on the stage? And so Trish is an award-winning artist and professor and artist in residency at BronxNet TV in New York to help creatives rebuild New York for a 2-year art residence from 2022 to 2024. She also teaches, she's a professor at St. Peter's University, and her passion is art and traditional raku, and combines her physical art with digital art, turning the works into NFTs. There's a whole lot more to Trish than that, but let's start there, Trisha, and I'll let you go ahead and you can take it away with your presentation, and I'll go step aside. Welcome, Trisha.
Thank you so much, Caroline. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here, everyone. So let's see, I guess, Matthew, I need control over the board. There we go. All right. And this is one of my more current pieces that I'm entering a new group. What I love about this technology, I've always been in using computer technology. I have a master's degree in computer art from School of Visual Arts. And for my thesis project, I actually did a virtual reality experience using circuit boards and programming for the physical space that you would go through. But what led me on to next slide, there we go. This, after I graduated, I started my own company, and this is just a list of some of my clients. I was part of the first iteration of Web 1, working through iteration of Web 2, and now I'm in the iteration of Web 3. So I've always been tight with technology, staying ahead of the curve, always staying in line with what was happening in progression. My life turned quickly, though, for health reasons, and I came down with cancer and decided to give up my company and just become a full-time artist. So if we go to next slide. So when Web3 came out, or actually during COVID, is when a lot of the digital art exploded for many people. And if you want to roll the video in the background while I talk, I had the opportunity to be Verbella's first artist in residence in their gallery. I don't see the video playing. Is it playing?
Oh, it's Verbella, the Verbella platform.
Yeah. Yes. Is the video playing, Matt?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay, good. I don't see
Not
it
sure why
on
it's
the
not
side.
streaming into Verbella. Give me a sec. I'll try and fix that.
You can keep
Yeah,
going though,
it's just
Trish.
a static slide right now. But that was so excited I was very excited to be artist in residence for Bella. And Sarah just told me my works are still up in the space in another part of the gallery. But besides, I'm wanting to see where the slides are, but it doesn't look like they're playing. So, you know, became a professor, full-time professor at St. Peter's University while pursuing my art at the same time. But I've always been interested in crypto art, is what it was first called in 2018 when I first discovered it, where I was one of the speakers at Art World Conference. And I learned how you could own a piece of a Picasso. And it was so exciting for me as an artist because I've been doing digital art as long as I've been doing raku. Computer art has always been my passion, as you know, getting awards for onographics. I have an Emmy and awards for other different creations I did for Saks Fifth Avenue, as well as my traditional art. But I always knew, you know, digital art was really important, but people didn't put value behind it. And then when Beeple sold his first NFT for $69 million with Sotheby's, or Christie's, that was the big opportunity for art, digital art, to be recognized as a valid form. Before that, I would try to do shows and say, hey, I have this digital moving painting. How can we hang it? And they would say, well, you have to bring your own monitor. And I'm like, okay, I'll bring a monitor. And they're like, we don't want that on our wall. It's too heavy. You know, so there was always an obstacle. But now it's mandatory to have a monitor showing with your artwork, which is really, really exciting. Bad, the slides are not showing. I could present
We did see the video.
Yeah, the video did show.
Oh, it did? Oh,
Yes,
okay.
it did. It did
Okay,
show.
good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't know where we are in the presentation because I'm not seeing it.
We're back to the art gallery slide on Matt, perhaps. And sometimes we have to do this,
Yeah.
by the way, because we're doing a little bit of magic with all this event. So Matt, is that the slide that we should be seeing? There we go.
I guess
There we
that's
go.
where we are now. So I guess I didn't get to see what you guys were showing in the background.
It
Do
was
you
you
see
in
that?
your
Do you see that 3 elements of
I
hip
see.
hop now?
I'm looking at Matt's screen. I could see it now.
Okay,
That's
great.
one of the NFTs I did for the hip hop 50th year anniversary. Those are 3 elements of hip hop with beatbox, dancing, and graffiti. The previous video showed the forefathers of hip hop that I also minted at NFT. So I've been brought on at Bronx Net TV as their artist in residence, part of Creatives Rebuild New York, which is the first program of its kind, where they're hiring artists to help the community and help giving artists salaries with health benefits as well. So this is a new program for artists that's never been done before. And I'm one of the artists in the program in the Bronx, but it's a statewide initiative from, Albany to Long Island, which is very, very exciting. Besides that, previously, you guys got to see some slides with my augmented reality. When I show my physical works, I show it with augmented reality. And I mint the physical pieces on the Fine Arts Ledger using NFC chips, which is near frequency computer chip technology. So there's a lot of different ways that I'm minting these NFTs. Some of them are completely digital, some of them are physical with the digital component added into it. I also create galleries in spatial using Web3 technology where I can import the NFTs right into the spatial gallery, as well as creating galleries. I don't know if you have another slide there that you can move to. That's the BronxNet TV slide for the NFT I made for the ribbon cutting for the new La Centrale immersive media studios for broadcast. And then you can go to the next slide. This is an example how I create augmented reality out of my artwork. So when people see my exhibit, they can be part of the artwork and take their photos with the art pieces and they become part of the art installation. You can go to the next one, please. This is one of the first commissions that I had in 2021. I delivered the painting to a health beauty spa in Summit, New Jersey. They bought 2 paintings, and when I delivered it, the chip was on the painting. So when you tap the painting where the chip is, it loads up the certificate of authenticity, how the artwork was minted in Polygon. So the unique number of the blockchain technology protects the artist as well, so that if I transfer this artwork, so I've sold the artwork, I keep 5% of the piece, and if they sell it again and they transfer it, I will see who the next person gets it, and on the honor system, hopefully getting the royalties. With OpenSea, you automatically get the royalties, but this is a new art marketplace. It came out the same time as OpenSea, called the Fine Arts Ledger, and they're working with museums and high-end galleries that all have physical works. If you can go to the next one. Slide, yeah. And this is a latest piece series that I'm doing. It's called Alter Ego, where I have the raku sculpture that has the golden unicorn, and then in the centerpiece is a painting that I did that is combined with a piece that I created that I generated into artificial intelligence, and then I printed it and then painted it over it again. It has gold leaf painted into it, and it's painted in a cigar box with the QR code. And then when you launch the QR code, you see the alter ego of the centerpiece, which is a golden dancing unicorn. So the raku piece is kind of like the mythological unicorn of, the one-horned beast, but it looks human. And so it's a progression of egos between all 3 pieces. So it's kind of a fun experience. And not only if all these pieces sold, but it also won a first prize in the museum center in Summit when the show exhibited the piece. So I think I got that in 5 minutes.
Yes, that's great. That's great, Trisha. Thank you so much. So
you.
obviously, we've been hearing about all of the intricate steps and, more importantly, the skills that you have to employ, Trisha, which is multi-layered. So I'm really interested for you to share, you know, you've been pioneering the conversion of physical art into NFTs and NFCs, and I'd like for you to just expand a little bit on the NFC concept. But can you explain how blockchain and Web3 have facilitated this transition, and what possibilities that you think that they're going to bring and are bringing to the art world in terms of that?
Well, I think Web3 has facilitated a new artist renaissance. It's really allowed artists to be taken seriously as digital artists. Prior to this time, artists were not taken seriously if they did the work on the computer. Somehow people interpret that as not a serious medium, and now it is. And the fact that artists can get monetary value for their work, and it's a way of managing your own work as well, because gallery owners are a little nervous about artists being able to have their own marketplaces. So that's a very super important aspect. And with the NFC chip, that stays with the artwork, and anybody from anywhere can get the augmented reality experience of the certificate of authenticity. It actually shows you how many blocks have been minted on the blockchain when you tap that chip. They answered that.
Yes, and that chip, and you and I, we worked on a project together relating to that NFC technology. And it's not a new technology, and near field communication's been around a long time. But so what we're really saying is you have a physical, like a sticker, and it allows the person who owns that piece of artwork to have a physical piece that also has a trackable, and it follows the digital art at the same time and allows them to access both by simply tapping that. Is that a fair, accurate statement?
Yes, and what's amazing about it is that you can put all your information about the artwork. So say somebody buys my piece and it's in their collection, they can have the photo of us together. They could have the receipt of sales documented in that whole web asset as well.
Right.
You can keep adding your assets to the archives of the artwork that can have all the different proofs of ownership. And then I have the augmented reality factor. When you guys were watching the video, I had that HoloLink example where I had the artwork that was showing the wired experience going from, you know, just the augmented reality to the certificate to face filters, you know, so you can keep adding on to the artwork as it goes on, like the unlockable content, but from a traditional means.
Wow. So it's really becoming a multi-layered way of engagement, right, with art in multiple different mediums and places. So I guess my question for you is, you know, given that there is this new renaissance, can you kind of elaborate on how do we perceive the value of that digital art, and why is it significant for artists, not just those who are doing physical, but those who are doing digital art? I mean, you touched upon that a little bit, but it seems like it has sort of monumental implications.
Yeah, this whole technology protects the artist in so many ways. So it's like before you'd have to get a copyright on, like, say, a logo or something like that, and it would cost you like $3,000 to $5,000. Now artists can, you know, with control of their own digital wallet, they can mint the artwork themselves, and that minting NFT process serves as a copyright. People are minting their houses as NFTs, cars as NFTs. You can get some high school diplomas as NFTs. So, you know, I do see this as more than just for artists, and artists are always kind of the the forerunners for any new technology in society. When you think about it, the cave drawings were done by artists, and it was a way of communication. Monetary systems were always, you know, the engravings on the coin was created by an artist. So here we go with Bitcoin, you know.
Right, right. No, it's powerful. It's powerful. Well, this is amazing, and thank you so much, Trish. And I'm going to now turn it back over to Matt. Matt?
For having me.
Thank you for coming.
All right, thank you very much. So Vlad, you want to make your way up here? I'm not even going to attempt to butcher my pronunciation of Vlad's last name. I'll let him do it himself when he gets up here. But Vlad is a passionate builder in the Web3 XR space and started Venity with Navneet. You're going to say that name too. Navneet Saxena over 2 years ago. They believe the real world is an infinite canvas for digital creativity and wants to unlock the Pokemon Go toolset for creators everywhere.
Cool. Thanks.
All right.
Last name is pronounced Avesalon. My co-founder's last name is Saxena. Cool. Yeah, so my name is Vlad. I'll give you a little bit of my background and where my motivation for starting this company came from. So I used to work in the healthcare IT space for a company called Epic Systems. They're the largest healthcare IT company in the world, as far as I know. And one of my big frustrations in that space was the lack of interoperability between different databases. So if you go to one hospital, it's very hard to move your records to another hospital, and a large part of that is due to the IT infrastructure. So one of the things that attracted me to blockchain initially was this idea of a shared distributed ledger for everybody to post data to. And so you pair that with my appreciation and enthusiasm for Pokemon Go, and so we came up with this idea of Venity, of using Venity as a way to bring NFTs to the masses, to onboard people into this distributed ledger ecosystem in a way that can connect with people very easily. And so we thought this idea of collecting digital objects in the real world would be a way to do that, because we saw the success of Pokemon Go. Let me go to the next slide real quick. So quick overview of what Venity is. We call it Pokemon Go as a platform. So it's a way to deploy location-based digital collectibles. What we do is we say, okay, you come onto our platform when you create a collection. So the first thing you have to do when you start minting NFTs is you create your own collection. So when you create a collection on our platform, what that actually means is we give you a map of the real world. So then what you can do is you can drop collectibles on that map, and each one of those collectibles is an NFT that's part of your collection. And that's all customizable. We help you customize look and feel of it, and then you can drop and manage those items and create a whole campaign around it. So, and the number one most important thing for us to do that is when you distribute this campaign out to your audience, is that it's super simple. It feels like something where you don't have to know anything about blockchain or crypto, because our goal here is to bring this technology to the masses, literally like millions of people collecting these things like they're just like any other platform. Cool. So we'll talk about a few of the campaigns we've done. We did one with Cisco Systems. They literally were just minting collectibles at their Cisco Live event, onboarded hundreds of users, and people were super excited about it. Like literally it increased their the attendance to their booth just by saying, hey, I've got this collectible object at my booth. Obviously, it was redeemable for stuff. I'll go into that a little bit more, but very simple use case. But the goal here and my ambition and my baseline for how this should work is when I go to like the auto show or something like that, and a company has just like, is trying to like connect with you, what do? They give you merch, right? They give you a hat or they give you a pamphlet, whatever. And it takes you what? A few seconds to pick it off the table. That's the baseline for how fast this technology should work. So we're obviously a long way from that, but that's the end goal here, is to make collecting digital objects as seamless as collecting physical objects, because that is the arc of where we are headed. And that's sort of the time with the VR AR space, is like the idea that like the digital will feel like the natural or the physical in the future. So that's the goal. And I also want to obviously give a shout out to Andrew and the ETH Chicago team. What we're doing for them is we're creating this map of all the things that are happening tied to ETH Chicago. It's on ethchicago.xyz. And those and every event that's going on, you can go to that location. It unlocks as a digital collectible at that point in time. So another way to think about this is as a real life questing system. You go to these places, you pick up a digital object. We now know about that, and we can reward you for that behavior. And what's really powerful, to tie back to this interoperability thing of a distributed ledger, we don't have to be the ones to determine what your reward is. It's not going to be a badge on our platform. If Andrew wants to give you Andrew coin, he can do that because he can see that he minted that on the blockchain says that I went to this location, I minted a proof of participation token, right? So now we can create this whole like interoperable ecosystem of, you know, questing systems where we can reward the behavior that we want from our users. So I think I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. This isn't in my comments at all, but I'm just going to say, even though like we've been working together since January on this, I know more about your system now than I did for the entire past 8 months. So thanks.
Awesome.
Okay, so that said, because you related a lot to Pokemon Go, I'm just going to ask the simple question of why blockchain?
So honestly, it is that idea of the interoperability of a blockchain system. So for me, what's important is to get people comfortable with the idea of, one, collecting digital objects, but doing it in the system, because I fundamentally believe that distributed databases and a shared ledger for all like human activity on the internet or in cyberspace, in the real world, but posted in cyberspace, is where we should go, because it will help us solve incredible coordination problems. You know, when I go back to the healthcare space, the amount of time I personally spent on connecting different healthcare systems together was just, I'm sitting here like I'm getting paid like immense amounts of money to solve these things that if we just all played nicely together and we shared this data, and like companies weren't so selfish about like protecting their systems because it's profitable for them to do so, we would be like way farther along. So that's where it comes from. And it's not easy, by the way, because choosing to build something on blockchain today is sadistic. It is a form of masochism. It's incredibly hard to like build scalable solutions. There's so many different things that are happening when you connect to a blockchain versus just using a Web2 database. It's not as scalable, it's more expensive, it's slower, all these things. These are the problems that like are going to take the next 5 to 10 years and more to solve. There's literally another infrastructure for the internet.
Okay. I'm actually going to jump to one of the later questions here. So how does Venity foster a sense of community among the creators and the users, and what role does the community play in shaping the platform?
Sure, yeah. So we play the community aspect pretty traditionally. You know, obviously social media is a huge part of, you know, crypto and blockchain. You know, you got your Discords, you got your Twitters, all that stuff, which, you know, those are Web2 platforms, so we need to start moving past that. But, you know, for me, number one, being a location-based platform is I'm trying to cultivate a community here. That's why I'm working with you guys. That's why I'm here talking to you guys. That's why I got involved with East Chicago, is because like what I can do, the most influence I can have is at the local level. And, you know, to try and build out the platform based on the inputs from you guys, from your experiences with our platform and what these guys are and what you guys want and what will add value. So, you know, I'm a pretty traditional software builder in that sense. But where I'd like to see this go is sort of, you know, incorporate more of that Web3 tooling, you know, decentralized autonomous organizations, DAOs, where everything is managed through, you know, maybe token-based voting, things like that. So, I mean, this is what I appreciate about this ecosystem, and that's where I think the community management comes into play.
All right, so last question, and you talked about this a little bit in your presentation, but I want to push on a little bit more, is the intersection between blockchain technology and Web3 technology and XR technology.
Yeah, for sure. I think like as Andrew mentioned before, this idea of a digital property rights layer is like a natural fit for blockchain. There's this concept of how many people here are familiar with the term skeuomorphism? So back when the iPhone first came out, if you guys remember, like the early versions of iOS had icons and apps that looked like real objects, right? Like you had a notepad app that had like the texture of like an actual notepad. And the idea there was to get people comfortable with interacting with a screen the same way they would with a physical object. And so like AR and VR let us do that with digital objects, right? Like I can be sitting here with my glasses and I can see a digital object and think it's like real, right? And so the idea that I can now go up to that object, maybe pick it up or tap on it and I'll collect it. Well, for me, I want to be able to collect it on a blockchain because I want the digital property rights that comes with that. And I want to know, I want to feel like that is my object. It's not Zuckerberg's object that just, he's like lending it to me.
All right, I'll let you go with that one, and we'll get back to some more questions from the audience in the future. Thank you very much. I'll grab that. And while we're doing that, I'm going to hand it back over to Caroline, who is going to introduce our final panelist.
Sounds great, Matt. Okay, well, I can't wait to hear from our next guest, Sarah Porter. So I've known Sarah through XR Women, and she has showed me the incredible metaverse that they have built for Hope for Haiti, the organization that she is Director of Innovative Philanthropy at Hope for Haiti. She leads the organization's strategy to engage to build creative new partnerships that leverage emerging technologies to raise money and support and awareness to programs in Haiti. And I think this is really one of the first nonprofits that I've heard that is really taking a step forward in this space in terms of Web3 and XR. So welcome, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I will go ahead and let you take it away. Now, just a reminder that if you turn around and then you can go ahead and click that screen, we're going to help her so she can get her camera turned on. She already did it. She's so good. And then you can go ahead and click on that middle screen. If you just come towards me here and just turn around like I am, and then you can go ahead and turn around. That's right. And then click that zoom and click the middle one, and then you'll be able to see your own slides. Yay.
Oh, sorry. What do I click? I know we practiced this. And
That's okay. You just go to the screen zoom at the top there and you click on that middle panel because that will show your slides, which are queued up here.
Oh, sorry. Screen zoom. I know we did
Yep.
this earlier. I don't know.
That's okay. You go right at the top here to the left. To the top left, it has three boxes that look like screen. Yep, the middle one. Yep. And if you just want to shift your body just with your little mouse.
No.
The middle one. Yep.
Sorry, everyone.
Got that?
I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. This is really embarrassing.
No, that's
Don't
okay.
worry about it. This is always a little, and for those of you in the audience in person,
Yeah.
it's really hard to explain that it does get very disorienting. So Sarah, you were gonna give her some direction just then. Sorry, I interrupted.
I was just going to tell her, hi, it's okay.
Oh,
At the
it's
top of
Michael.
at the top of your screen, there's a tab that says screen zoom. Are you able to see that at the top of your monitor screen?
Yeah.
Okay, hover over that and select the one that says main screen.
So stage viewpoint, left web screen, main screen.
There
okay.
you go. And now
There
you're
you go. All right.
Can you see my
Awesome.
slides though? Because it's not showing my slides. This is what I was doing earlier. It just shows.
you
logo
could
and
show-
page.
you
It
could
does
even
show
on
you
the
there,
camera.
Sarah Porter, director. You can also turn
Yep.
around if you need to, but yeah, it just shows there you go. There's Sarah Porter. I think everyone here can see that.
Right, but
Yeah, we can.
the slide deck, the slide deck that I shared, the first slide should say like inspiring hope.
Oh, there it is. There you
Oh,
go.
There we go.
I'm
Awesome.
sorry, everyone. Gosh, this is so embarrassing. Like,
Don't
after 4
worry
years
about it,
being
Sarah.
Just set the
Silly
time.
on our
years.
computers.
Doing amazing work, and this is
You're
just
brave.
technology.
And
We're at
just-
the forefront of it.
And just tell Matt when you want to advance a slide.
Okay. Like the equivalent of still saying like, am I on mute? Barb.
Hey,
That's right.
we can't get rid of that problem. That's a human thing.
Anyways, thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity. So like Caroline said, my name is Sarah Porter. I'm with the nonprofit Hope for Haiti, and we recently partnered with a VR studio to actually recreate one of our partner schools in VR to be able to showcase our work and connect people to our mission. Next slide, please. So yeah, I know I only have a few minutes, so I just want to give you a little more background about who we are and what we do. So Hope for Haiti is a nonprofit organization, and this is actually our 35th year working in Haiti. And we truly are driven by the belief that there's always a pathway to a better life in Haiti, despite the challenges. And part of my role is figuring out how to creatively raise resources, raise support and awareness so our team in Haiti can do the work. And I know one of the reasons we've been so successful over those 35 years is because of our Haitian team. The majority of our staff is Haitian. We have 150 full-time Haitian staff members, much smaller team here in the US. I always say, I am not Haitian. I don't know what's best for Haiti, but my Haitian colleagues do. And on that note of creative ways, like I mentioned, we'll talk a little bit more. FXG was the VR studio that we partnered with that was able to turn this weird idea I had a few years ago literally into a reality. Next slide, please. So I really like photos. These are some of my favorite pictures. So we work in 4 core program areas. Our first one is education. We partner with 24 existing schools to ensure that over 7,000 students a year can attend school. That can be a challenge in Haiti. We also work with teachers to provide teacher training. We implement a back to school fund at all 24 of our partner schools. And actually, let's go to the next slide. Again, one of my favorite pictures. Why I like to share this is, we get asked a lot, especially recently, about what is currently going on in Haiti. If you turn on the news, Haiti's actually been in the news quite a bit. There is a lot of political instability right now, unrest, but that tends to be centered in Port-au-Prince. We are based in the South. We are several hours outside of the capital. And honestly, this is a photo of the Haiti that we see. And I really want to help reframe the narrative around, what Haiti is and share more of that story. And I do think that platforms like VR can really help us do that. Next slide, please. We also have a very large healthcare program. So we have a clinic based in Lakai, and that is completely staffed by all Haitian doctors and nurses. We do dental care, lab work, cancer screenings, diabetes prevention, wound care. Not everybody can make it to our clinic, so we also do mobile clinics where a team of doctors and nurses go out into the rural areas and basically run a pop-up clinic at one of our partner schools for the community that day. All right, next slide, please. I really like this picture. This is 2 of our amazing nurses. We have a very large gift in kind program. So we have relationships here in the US with organizations like AmeriCares, MAP International, different hospital systems, where we take in medication, medical supplies, medical equipment. We have an amazing logistics team. We ship it to Haiti, and not only does it get distributed through our own healthcare facility, which you see in this photo, we also partner with about 50 other healthcare providers throughout the South to really maximize that reach and ensure that we're able to reach, hundreds of thousands of patients a year. Next slide. And we also work in clean water. Access to clean water remains a challenge in Haiti. So our team works with local municipalities to dig and implement wells. We also build sanitation blocks in the schools, and we also distribute clean water filtration systems so families can actually access clean water at the household level. And then next slide, please. Our final core program area is economic development. So we make loans and grants to businesses that have a social impact in Haiti. And last I heard, he is the only yogurt maker in southern Haiti. And, you know, again, that's just part of the story that doesn't always get shared. Like, there's such amazing things happening in Haiti, and we're just here to really help create a little bit more opportunity. All right, next slide. So yeah, VR, why? Why am I here? Like, again, nonprofit, I knew nothing about VR probably before 2020. I love to tell the story that I was living in New York City at the time. I went to a place called VR World in Manhattan, and I was trying on all the different headsets, and I was so blown away. The technology has gotten so incredible. It's so sophisticated. At one point, I actually had to take off the headset because I was playing a game with zombies, and I got so scared because I really thought zombies were behind me and going to eat me. And when I left, I just couldn't get this question out of my head. Why are we not using this? You know, is there a way for us to use this incredible technology to strengthen our mission? You know, in the office, we always ask each other this question. You know, if we can't bring everyone to Haiti, is there a way to bring Haiti to everyone? And I kept asking and I kept asking. I was like, guys, no, really, I think we should do this. You know, and then COVID started to spread and everything became virtual. And that really seemed like the time to start working on this project to see if this would be something that we could, you know, roll into our programs. So I won't read everything on this slide, but we partnered with FXG. They were able to actually take blueprints of one of our partner schools in rural Haiti, photos, videos, and they recreated beautiful world, this beautiful landscape, and a beautiful 3-room school, totally immersive, optimized for the Oculus Quest. So when you put on the headset, you can go into the 3 rooms, you can pick up a piece of chalk and write on the chalkboard, you can raise and lower the Haitian flag, you can even pump one of our water wells. They asked me again, can we have blueprints of one of your wells so we can build it? And I'm in VR and I'm looking at it, and I've been to Haiti a couple times. I was like, wow, that really looks like one of our water wells. Then I'm looking at the school, I'm like, whoa, that really looks like one of our partner schools. So yeah, it's been really interesting. We've presented at AWE the last 3 years now. We've been able to demo the app in the playground. I'm a little like one-person VR booth, so now that we're back to doing in-person events, I take the headset with me. It's been fun. It's been really interesting to get people's feedback, those who are really experienced in VR and those who've never used it before. And put it on the headset and people saying like, wow, this is amazing. I'm like, oh, what are you seeing right now? And they're like, I'm pumping the water well. So yeah, we also want to help be a roadmap for other nonprofits to be able to get into these new spaces. I don't know of that many nonprofits that are doing this, especially some of the smaller ones. So we're really hoping to just kind of share, you know, this story and a roadmap for how other groups can do this. Oh, next slide, please. I really like this, this, I don't know what to call it. I don't know if it's a screenshot. This is from the developers. They shared a photo of the world. So it's actually quite big. You can spend, you know, some time exploring. You know, they built in little Easter eggs, you know, things that are exploratory, things that you can interact with. And again, I know I'm only supposed to have 3 to 5 minutes. So the next slide is our trailer. So again, I'm a big believer in don't just talk about it. Can we show it? So we can play that. Okay, great. I'm not sure why I'm getting an echo. All of a sudden.
Matt, your mic is there, I think. Yeah.
Oh, yes. The last slide is just, hey, send me an email. I know we're going to keep talking on the stage for a few more minutes, but please check out our website. We're always looking for aligned partners, who share the same beliefs that we do and, want to focus on using XR for social impact. And if you have side quests, you can find the app on SideQuest. You can download it for free, put on the headset, and take a little virtual tour of Haiti.
Yay, amazing. Fantastic.
Now what am I supposed to do with my avatar? I already forget.
Oh yeah, so
You're
now,
right.
Doesn't matter.
so now you can just click outside of that box somewhere in the gray little
Okay.
section and you'll put yourself right to be looking out at the audience, which is right where you want to be. So
Okay.
makes sense. Okay. Thank you so much, Sarah. I have questions.
Great.
Questions.
I hope I can answer them.
Yeah. So I had heard about Sarah's efforts to deploy an NFT project because I was actually, Trish and I were working on one ourselves. So my question for that is, can you share a little bit more about your journey to bring the metaverse platform and then turn that into a interactive NFT experience, and what you learned from that, and what assumptions you had that you completely were like surprised by? Because I know anyone who takes on an NFT project, it's a lot.
Yeah, and I do want to preface all this again by saying, like, I am no expert, and I am learning as I go. Like I said, before 2020, this was all new words to me. On that note, so actually it was summer of 2021, and we were getting ready to like soft launch the app with FXG, and then the earthquake hit. So there was the major earthquake in 2010, and that was in Port-au-Prince, but in August 2021, so literally almost two years ago, Haiti was hit by another major earthquake that this time was right in our backyard, based in the south in Lakai. I actually remember where I was. I was in New York, and it was Saturday, and I had NPR on, and I remember hearing the words Haiti and earthquake in the news report, and I just remember my stomach, this feeling. And our WhatsApp thread blew up. We our whole staff is on a WhatsApp thread, and messages were flying, like making sure that we were identifying where all our staff in Haiti were, that everyone was safe, and then it was all hands on deck, how our team was going to be responding to the needs of the community. And we are still responding. Over 2 years later, we are implementing our long-term response plan, which includes rebuilding community infrastructure in several schools. But then again, this was right around the time we were about to launch the app, and VR Studio actually said, hey, Sarah, we actually have relationships with several NFT artists. What do you think about partnering with some of them, seeing if they would contribute an NFT to raise funds for your earthquake response? And I went to my computer and I typed in, what is an NFT? Because it is now. I was like, oh, but I don't want them to know.
That's how it starts. That's how it starts.
Yeah. And I remember finding, I don't know if anyone's seen the SNL sketch about what is that?
Yeah, it's now ancient history now, but yes, it's very funny. If you haven't seen it, you can find it. Go on YouTube, you'll find it.
Yes, please just type in SNL NFT, and I can still hear Pete Davidson rapping that song because I watched it. That was my crash course into like what NFTs were. So they explained it to me. They walked me through it, and yes, we were able to partner with, I think, about 20 NFT artists around that time. And what was really cool is FXG was able to take some of those NFTs and actually put them in the VR schoolhouse. So as I mentioned, it's a 3-room schoolhouse. The first classroom, we tried to make it look like a traditional classroom. It has chairs, desks, chalkboard. That's the one you can like pick up and write on it. The second room, we're not very, our organization they're playing. So
you're cutting out a little bit, but keep going, Sarah.
Almost like museum style. You can walk up to them. Oh, sorry.
That's
I'm
okay.
following.
Let me close. Okay. Yeah, so you can
Camera.
actually that. So again, almost like an art gallery, you can walk up to them. And then we had a graphic where it explained about our earthquake response program and how the funds from these that. So yeah, that was our sort of first foray into that world. I think we raised a few thousand in crypto, which seemed like, great proof of concept. But yeah, again, real quickly, we were learning about all these new things. And part of my role as director of innovative philanthropy is really trying to figure out, what are some new innovative ways we can be raising the resources and support so our team in Haiti can do the work, while also still focusing on some of the more traditional ways. We still have a lot of relationships with foundations. Individual donors are really what enable us to do this work. So as we create new campaigns, whether it is through crypto, NFTs, things that are online fundraising, social media campaigns, we really try to have a pretty diverse revenue stream.
Great. Well, I know that I have more questions, but what I'd like to do actually is turn this back over to Matt, because I think that there are going to be some other questions, and I just think the whole topic of nonprofits having a new way, a new pathway to be able to build large scale engagement in a lot of ways and raise money at the same time. So I will turn it back to you, Matt, so we can do these Q&As.
All right, and so really quick how Q&A works. First of all, Vlad and Andrew, if you guys can make your way back up to the stage. There's one microphone here. There's another microphone there if you guys just want to grab it on your way up here. So the way Q&A works, we take questions and answers in the live space here. We take questions and answers in Verbella, and we take questions and answers from the live stream that Tom has, which I don't think I gave Tom his microphone, but I'm pretty sure it's sitting on the table in front of him somewhere. But Ben can get it over to him if we need to. So anyway, the way that this will work is for those of you who want to ask a question, effectively you raise your hand. I will try to keep track here in terms of order. I'm watching Verbella's screen as well, so when I see a hand go up in Verbella, that's kind of the order that we'll try to go in. But ultimately, that's how the Q&A will work. If I see Tom's hand go up, we'll go to awe.live. But I'll always go with the, let's see who's going to ask the first question. Front row right here, Ben. Hang on, wait for the microphone so that they can hear you.
Oh, sorry. So you mentioned that Ethereum Chicago is coming up. How could I get more involved? Where can I get more information about that?
We definitely planted, Thomas, but thank you for that question. So yeah, super quick, if you can go to ethchicago.xyz.com, there's some buttons there where you can attend, purchase a ticket. You can apply to speak, although we're about a week and a half away. So I'll go to ethchicago.xyz, and there you can find all the resources to purchase a ticket and attend.
And we'll have some more information on that at the very end of this event. So
thank you, Thomas.
All right, aside from planted questions, what do we got in the audience? Anything? I'm watching Verbella as well. Go ahead, back row.
Thank you. Yeah, a question for Trish. As an artist that's kind of been at the forefront of experimenting with NFTs and kind of like physical settings, I'm curious if you've seen resistance from some of your colleagues or some other artists that maybe were more skeptical about kind of jumping in or understanding about how some of the technology that you're experimenting with and the validity of NFTs as kind of like an art form as a whole. So I'm just curious your experience and kind of, as you've been an early experimenter, what people have said and kind of what the reaction to that has been.
Oh, good question. I've seen a lot of resistance with people. The mere mention of NFTs, people just like raise their hands and roll their eyes. I just did 14C Art Fair last year, and that was the reaction I got from the curator, the person running the show. But I did, one of my fellow artists who was a traditional artist, she bought my one of my pieces before the show opened. It was an NFT, and she didn't even think twice about it. but again, I sell the physical piece with the NFT part, and she has a wallet and she still hasn't collected the NFT. So, I teach classes and I offer the classes, and a lot of the key people who ask me to teach them don't show up. You know, it's just kind of like, I think education is the important key, but at the same time, people have to want to learn, and nobody wants to invest the time that it takes to figure this stuff out, because it takes work to learn how to make your wallet and how to understand digital currencies. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it, but at the same time, the value is behind it, and that's why you have to put the effort into it. Did that answer your question?
I'm seeing a hand up in Verbella.
Yeah, I was just curious to if you could expand on that, Trish, and how much of the resistance you think is attributed to a current lack of kind of trust in this. It's new for most folks to this concept of blockchain, and we found many of our users still are confused about it. So I do think, and I'm grateful for sessions like this because I think it's really helpful for educating folks. But I'm just curious, how much do you think of that resistance is just due to maybe misinformation, if I could put it that way, and we're still learning, right, as a human society about this new way forward?
Trust is a big issue. I agree with you with that. When Dex went down, it was all over the news, and there were a lot of people who were upset, and rumors were started, and it kind of gave the term NFT a bad vibe. And there's been times when people say, don't say NFT, don't call it an NFT. Like, I've been told that when I get up and speak sometimes, or when I'm in front of other people talking about them. And I was doing a project for the Bronx to do NFT giveaways, and we did a Web3 technology for the giveaway, similar to the ones you guys gave away tonight, putting in your phone number. And everyone was still confused. And the director at Bronx he's like, too hard. It needs to be easier. To both everyone else's point, right? And I think, people want it to be as easy as swiping a credit card. I think that's there's still a barrier between. They call it almost like, when you look at interactive advertising, the click-through rates, and they want to just click and have it be done, or swipe, or scan me.
Yeah, right.
But it'll be interesting. I'm doing another show this coming Friday. It'll be interesting to see how the works are viewed at this next show. I have two of the pieces will have the augmented reality component, and one has the chip, the NFT. So it'll be interesting to see how people react. I always find it interesting.
Yeah, and I would just say, just to end on that I think, it's really interesting. It's good to have these conversations and to talk about these things like we're doing today, just to have people be more familiar with it, and then kind of have trust in the system, as it were. And I really love how you're pioneering the minting of physical art objects. It's a really interesting bridge for those in the art world, of which I'm a part, and come from the fine arts industry, and then into the digital. I think that helps with the familiar and I have this beautiful piece of Raku pottery, but now it's authenticized by the blockchain, kind of a thing. So kudos, long-time supporter.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, Tom has a question. I'm not sure if it's Tom or
it's me.
It's you.
So I have a question for everyone on the panel, just because you all have such different perspectives with working with this tech. But I'm going to start with a question for you, Andrew. What is the title Summoner? And can you give us some context to that? And then my follow-up question for everyone is going to be just kind of since you all come from unique backgrounds, what language, what term has been the most trying to get the buy-in from your community?
All right, well, I might answer what summoner means, and then we'll come back to me on the term, because I'll need to think about that. But yeah, so the title that I put here is like summoner member, and it's a great question, actually. No one's asked me this before, but like when we talked about blockchain, decentralization, products that are open to everyone, but no one controls, it really does like unlock this new form of coordination where like it's not about having the most trustworthy suit that can be on CNBC selling that your product's legit, right? It's about having a true community ecosystem of folks who can be voting on how to mature your product, et cetera. And so in that world, there is this role for people who can have the crazy idea to launch in East Chicago, like all three of us have had. But then you hopefully get to a point using decentralized technology where like it is owned by the community. And so in that world, you have these folks who help get it off the ground, help summon it. But success to them, like success to me with East Chicago, is if in 2-3 years I have very little power over it, right? There's a term in crypto that power is a hot potato. So the term summoner basically is meant to allude to that like I'm helping get this off the ground, but it's not about me, it's about we, and hopefully my role as it matures becomes more of a member and less of a summoner.
I think to your second question, Tom, I mean, just most of the terms in this space are pretty hard to sell to market. I think Web3 was probably the closest to something where people were like, oh, that sounds sexy. But NFTs, we get that question all the time. When I get on a call with a prospective client, they're like, well, why should I do an NFT? Like, what's the point, right? And I go into my I wax poetic about interoperability and how like, oh, this is an object on a shared layer. And it's like, okay, that's fine. So, like people have shifted to this idea of digital collectibles, right? Because digital collectibles sounds like, okay, the regular person can understand it's a collectible, but it's obvious, right? So I think I go back to that the most important thing you can do, at least at the start, is to make it really easy to get into this stuff and make it whatever your use case is, like make it fun and a value add to whoever is using it. And then you start connecting the pieces later. Like I'll give you an example in like the 2017 stage of like Ethereum, the idea of creating your own token, that was the thing back then. There's these things called ICOs. You could literally create a token and then you can go out and raise money with your token. We can debate about whether it's equity or not. That's beyond the point right now. But it was just a token, right? Like anybody can just go out and create a token. It's kind of amazing. You can create your own money or your own shares in stock, whatever. And at the beginning, you're like, okay, what's the point? Then later on, you get in 2020, you get this thing called decentralized finance, DeFi. And now all of a sudden, you have these things, these smart contracts, these protocols that can connect tokens together and swap between them. And then you can lock them up and borrow against them. And it's all because of this idea of interoperability, right? This connective tissue that is like the blockchain. And so this, I try to apply the same philosophy with NFTs. It's like, let's get them in as many people's hands. And then once we have all this ecosystem built out, we can actually, people will be like, oh yeah, now I get it.
Trish or Sarah, if you guys want to answer that question next.
Sure, I can. I think the big challenge has been, as I mentioned before, just saying NFT in general, just because people don't understand it. It's been a big hurdle. And with a good example of my last project I did for BronxNet, we ran up against a lot of bureaucracies. I was doing a geo-targeted map tour of the city for famous figures in the Bronx. And pretty much I couldn't get past, traffic, different laws in the city for flying drones to shoot photography. A new law got passed this year that you have to have a pilot's license to fly a drone to take pictures, and then New York City has a no fly law for drones in the city. And then to get on properties, you had to get permission. So to bring augmented reality technology to these places, I just ran up against so many hurdles. Sorry, my dog's squeaking.
I love it. Real life.
Thanks. That's all I have to say.
And your dog has a very cute squeak, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
mean, so, I mean, we're in the nonprofit world. It's a very different industry. You know, we are not a tech company. So I'm just going to go ahead and say all the terms can be confusing. Web3, crypto, metaverse, blockchain. You know, we have to do a lot of, I think, education around what this is and what it means and why a nonprofit would be utilizing this while we learn as we go.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people aren't as comfortable with being able to learn and interpret while things are still a little bit fuzzy, which is why we're here, right, Matt and Tom and everyone that's involved in this organization and Virbela, is that these are edgy topics, and that comes with a lot of fear and distrust and uncertainty. So it comes with the territory.
There can be a lot of intimidation with that, to your point, and just to amplify on that. And you know, you see things in the media and you read things and you see acronyms, and no one likes to feel foolish, but they want to understand. So cutting through to, you know, getting to the heart of things and speaking in terms that everyone can understand, and conversations like this are really important for that reason. I agree.
I think we're good on this side in terms of questions, but if I see hands up, Matt, I will give a shout out.
Yeah, and I'm just going to quickly give my response to this question too, which more or less agrees with Sarah. Like I think it was Sarah who said this. The least amount of new words we can use, the better. Like you don't understand a lot of how the internet works. You don't understand how database. I mean, some of you may, but most people who use these applications don't understand how databases work, right? How user authentication systems work, how front end and back end applications, you don't understand any of that and you still use them. And so to us, a sign of success is going to be, you don't have to use any of these words, but user applications can just provide a unique experience, right? A new value add to a user that you don't even have to say you're using blockchain. It's just you can enable more powerful experiences, benefits for them using the technology under the hood. So the best way to go about it is if you can design a system, you don't even have to talk about, you know, what you're using really.
If I could add to that, that's when I'm selling my physical pieces, I don't tell people they're NFTs until after they're sold. Just like you said, it's seamless and not complicated.
All right, I think we have a question coming in from awe.live. And this is probably going to be the last question, maybe one after this.
All right, so the question is basically, which type of country, big or small, will be more ready and available to accept digital currency and blockchain kind of universally? And will that be kind of an established country or a developing one? This is from Francis Wong, and he said, for example, Singapore is the first country to do so, if they're not mistaken.
I would definitely say smaller. I mean, you look at the ones who are most likely to, entities that are most likely to adopt emergent tech, it's going to be the ones that are underserved by today's tech. And so, you know, our sort of like dollar-based settlement system is maybe not great for emerging economies today. And so, and also, you know, obviously their currencies are tied to it. And so, you know, when they think about, okay, I need a store of value, they're going to look at stuff like Bitcoin or hopefully Ethereum. And they're going to be faster to adopt this stuff because they're literally looking for, like in this escape hatch, they're looking for an alternative payment system. Whereas like us in the US, we have it pretty good here. Other developed countries like in Europe, like we're pretty well served by today's payment systems. So obviously we can do better and we'll adopt these systems, but I would, my argument would be in favor of, smaller emergent like countries that have never been well served by their current systems.
So I'm going to throw one last question at you guys really quickly, because we've talked a lot about, we've talked about art, we've talked about the uses for art with NFTs, we've talked about, tokenizing and proof of attendance. What I kind of want to throw at you now is like, okay, so what are some of the other uses for this blockchain that we really haven't talked about, but ultimately when you start talking about things like metaverse and VR and AR and social virtual experiences, things like that, places like Verbella where you might be conducting business, some of the other use cases that blockchain could support without necessarily being, okay, we all have to learn blockchain to understand this, but one of the things that comes to my mind almost immediately, because it's one of the first things I did with blockchain, was a voting system. It's like, okay, you have to prove that people were there, that they actually listened to the presentations, that they voted who they voted for, and the cool thing about the technology being, well, it can be cryptographically proven and at the same time completely anonymous, which given some of the court cases that are happening right now in the news, hey, if you could have a way of literally proving who voted, that they voted, what they voted for, there's no need to actually have hand counting of stuff because it's all done and proven. That could potentially solve some problems that are currently in the news cycle. But I'm curious if there are any other sort of effectively solutions that blockchain can present that you guys can think of.
Yeah, I'm sure people have a lot of interesting answers here. I'll just say two quickly. First, Vlad already commented on this, but the composability piece of it. And so an example of how that applies itself, let's say Vlad makes a really great augmented reality scene, okay? I'm just keeping it abstract using some technology. What he could have is some third party who literally gives him a better deal on a loan because they think his scene has value. Right, completely abstract, different entity who's never talked to Vlad, never talked to the entity who built the VR AR setup, but basically his reputation is composable outside of that world. And so just generally, I think that's like an incredibly interesting and unique space to live in. So I'm going to pause on that one and I'll let other guys give some answers first.
Yeah, I would jump in just with in the nonprofit space. We were actually the first grant recipient from Coinbase Giving, and they were able to help us build a program following the earthquake to enable blockchain digital cash transfers to 300 mothers in our Youth Christian program. So they had these crypto funds to use with specific vendors to be able to get critical supplies immediately. And I think for the digital or for humanitarian aid, there could be some really interesting use cases of how blockchain-enabled cash transfers can now just more quickly get money into people's hands, figurative money into people's hands than more traditional systems.
I see Trish's hand going up, so go ahead, Trish.
Oh, recently I read about someone was offering their services and they made themselves into, or their services into a coin, and you could hire them hourly for their coin rate and they would work for you. I thought that was kind of funny, but there's so many different things.
Yeah, I'm going to steal Vlad's next up, but just one super powerful aspect of this, since we're on this like global shared database of a blockchain, it also allows a much higher level of indexing. And so what that means is if you're a creator who is creating things in augmented reality worlds, doing so on a blockchain actually makes it much easier where you could be found. Just literally because there are data analysts already scouring every data point on a blockchain, creating graphs because it's publicly available information. And so I think one of the most unique benefits is that if done correctly, it should actually create a much lower barrier to entry for folks who are really trying to build a reputation in what they can do in that world because it's done on this open data set as opposed to siloed worlds.
guess just to cap off that point, I think what's really exciting is this idea that like your identity is now basically tied to what you're doing. So, one of the biggest problems in, like digital identity is, people like bots, right? On Twitter, we see bots all the time. And this idea that like in the future, you may not need like some sort of like know your customer thing where you're like, you have to take a photo of your ID and stuff, because now like when you connect your blockchain based like wallet to an application, you now are saying like, this is me and this is my history of activity. So now we can sort of like score you and say, okay, you look like you're a real person because you've done these things that a bot wouldn't do, right? And I think that's a great use case. I love the idea of digital identity on blockchain as like an emergent like use case in the next few years.
And I'm going to end it with that just because one of the biggest concepts of the sort of intersection between blockchain and immersive technology is in immersive technology, we have all these different worlds. There's all these different platforms and different worlds that people are on. And the fact that you could use blockchain to have one identity that is the same across all of these different worlds and all these different virtual environments, that's one of the sort of really powerful use cases for it with immersive technology. But with that, we are going to go into final closing remarks right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to give how this works, so you guys are aware, is each panelist is going to get about 20 seconds to just sort of give a closing remark. After that, Caroline will give her closing remark. After that, I will give my closing remark, and then we'll finish up with some basic housekeeping stuff. But I'm going to say, let's go with Sarah Porter first.
Sure. Oh, I didn't prepare anything. But one thing I did want to mention, I'm actually, as of this year, the co-chair of the VR/AR Association's Metaverse for Good committee. So I would invite everyone to come drop into our next meeting, which will be September 28th. And our guest speaker will actually be Max Noir, who was with FXG and worked very closely with me, helping develop the app. So it'll be great to have her on, and she's done some really cool stuff in Uganda, also building up sort of that VR metaverse space. So yeah, please come join us on September 28th.
All right, Vlad.
Here's my time to give a shout out to two gentlemen here in the back. It's Matt and Eddie from I'm Not Art. I'm Not Art is a physical gallery that displays NFT art. They're on Ashland and Augusta. They've done more than, as far as I know, anybody else in the city to onboard people to this ecosystem. So please go check out their art and check out their events. They do stuff all the time. They're awesome. So.
All right, Trisha.
Thank you for having me. I'm Trish Gia Art on Instagram, and I'm Trish.Janakis on LinkedIn. Follow me, and I always answer DMs if you want to reach out or have questions. And art is my passion, and I love to work on projects with people as well. So, like Sarah, maybe we could collaborate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
All right, and Andrew.
Yeah, just thank you to VRAR for devoting your guys' time to this and putting this on. I hope to have many opportunities to work with you guys in the future. Folks listening, thank you for your time, just hearing our thoughts. We appreciate it. Better than my dog listening to what I have to say. And generally, yeah, excited. Feel free to reach out to myself on Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever you'd like to. With East Chicago, we're really focused on trying to provide as much lasting economic impact back to Chicago and the Midwest using blockchain and other emergent technologies as much as we can. And so truly, if you're passionate about any of these areas or interested, feel free to connect to myself or anyone else, and let's continue to build a community that can, again, seriously drive economic value, make this a real industry in Chicago and more broadly in the Midwest.
And Caroline.
Yeah, I guess mine would be just really the final thoughts, and that is that I come from a place of being very involved in the healthcare space, and we didn't talk a lot about it, but I really think that the possibility and the application for blockchain NFTs to be about the patients empowering themselves to be able to decide who gets to use their data and when and how, And since blockchain has so much connection to privacy preserving technologies, as that's really what it is that they're really dignity preserving technologies, and they're taking the ownership back to the person who is the producer of whatever that is. And I think that the idea that tokens can be really not just increasing the data value, but the user value. So I think there's a lot of long-term, really impactful implications to this. And I just think it's a road and it's a journey, and it's going to be bumpy, but I'm still pretty pumped about it. So I'm glad that we're here talking about this today. Thanks.
All right, and I'm actually gonna hold off on closing remarks pretty much. I'm not gonna say much. Basically, it's a cool technology. I think the first time I bought Bitcoin, it was at 11 cents. So, and I deleted them, sadly. But this is a really cool tech. It's great to see what it's doing in terms of just getting beyond the basics of things like cryptocurrency, and now that it's actually being used for things like distributed organizations and distributed voting environments, and effectively digital ownership certificates, some of the actual power of the tech. I'm really excited to see what comes next, and I'll agree with some other comments that I sort of heard here, that I think part of what we need to do to make this technology really powerful is stop focusing on the technology and focus on the use cases, and just let people use it without even necessarily knowing that they're using it. But with that, a couple of things we have on housekeeping. So up next, we have a reminder really quick that this is a 501c3 charitable organization. Hang up here just for a second, Andrew, because you got more to go. So yeah, this is a charitable organization. We hope that you guys can please donate, support us. We're going to be working on some fundraising efforts. There's going to be a lot of fun news coming out of the Next Evolution and VR Air Chicago over the next few months. We've been doing a lot, but it's kind of happening behind the scenes. Hopefully we'll be announcing some of it very shortly. Let me go through my notes because I should do that. One of the next big things that we do have to talk about is that next month, our program for the arts, we are not going to be at 1871 next month. I know we've been doing this event here at 1871 in person pretty much since we came back from the pandemic, but due to conflicts, we had to find another space, and so we will be hosting next month at 2112, which is at 4245 North Knox Avenue. And we'll be talking about the arts, which is oddly somewhat related to some of the stuff that we were talking about today. That will be our topic. November 1st, we will be talking about artificial intelligence. Again, very related technology that's been in the news quite a bit lately. And December 6th, December 6th, we're going to be talking about social spaces and the use of immersive technology in social space, and we're still figuring out the venue for that event. We expect it'll be a little bit shorter on the presentation side and a little bit more on the social side in December. But with that, those are our topics for the remainder of the year. Again, these are all of our socials up here. Please like us, follow us, join us, donate, support us, all of those fun things. We would love it if you would, also with AWE. And I will put up at the final slide here to collect your NFT for a chance to win in December. The giveaway, there is at least going to be one giveaway. Like I said, it ends up usually being a headset, a VR headset of some form. But with that, I didn't know if you guys wanted to talk about tickets to East Chicago and how that's going to be distributed. Because we did say that there's going to effectively be a giveaway of East Chicago tickets here tonight.
So ETH Chicago tickets are naturally NFTs. And we have the capability of airdropping these tickets to any wallet. And you guys are here collecting NFTs or email address, which I think a lot of you are probably connecting to the app using email anyway. So we have some free tickets to give away. So if you collect this NFT, we might airdrop you some ETH Chicago tickets, and they're quite expensive. So it's a pretty good deal. So please collect the NFT.
All right, I'll leave it at that. Thank you guys very much, unless you want to add more. And for those of you in the audience who have questions, I'm going to leave this QR code up on the screen. For anyone who has questions, you can collect the NFT. They'll be here to answer questions and help you collect the NFT if you're having any trouble with it. And also anything else about how you're going to be airdropping the tickets and things like that. For anyone who's watching on the live stream who couldn't make it here in person. One of the things that we've done, and again, this is just an announcement for those of you who are not familiar with the event, this video will be available on our YouTube channel on awe.live effectively forever, starting sometime later this week likely. And then also the presentation is always linked from the website at vrarchicago.com as well. So if you couldn't get the NFT working tonight, you got a chance at it tomorrow. Again, we do limit how long you can collect the NFTs for. But the presentation will always be live if you want to come back and review any of the content. With that, thank you very much to our virtual presenters, our in-person presenters, our volunteers who have made all of this work. We'll still have some time in the space for networking or trying out demonstrations if you'd like to do that. Obviously, we still have some snacks and some drinks in the physical space. Thank you, everybody, and we hope to see you next month. Thank you very much.
Take care. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you,
And
Sarah and Trish.
I'm letting you know, Verbella, I'm going to mute you guys in the room.
Thank
so
you,
thank you very much.
Caroline.
Sure. Yes, this has been great. Thank you so much. And I think that Steve left, but I was going to thank him I wanted to make sure that he got his questions answered, and he did, I think, because Trisha, you answered his question, so that's great.
Oh, good.
Yeah.